It is the RotoBaller PGA show. And we've got a different, fresher, more wisdomous face on the other side of me compared to Spencer Aguilar. We got pinch hitting for us tonight on the John Deere Classic episode is Joe Nicely. Mr. Nicely, how are you?
I'm doing well, sir. Thanks for having me on. Spencer's much more handsome, but I've definitely got the age on him, so experience over beauty.
Yeah, one of my favorite things on this show is to call our guests old, which I haven't done yet. I've learned there's a better way to say that, and you can say wisdomous now. So I appreciate you saying that, though, Joe. And we do miss Spencer. I hope you're getting some good recharge to the battery so we can finish the year strong. I know nobody really deserves it much better than Spencer anyway. So, Joe, it's the John Deere Classic. I've had a lot of people hating on it this week. This is my major, baby. You know, I'm rocking the RagRide jersey, the Register's annual great bike ride across Iowa. So you start west, go east, baby, and you dip your tires in the two different rivers, and off you go. So in some point later this month, I'm going to be doing just that. And it's pretty close to where this tournament takes place in Silvis, Illinois. So, Joe, what's cooking with you on your prep for this week? What are you kind of expecting? What are you leaning into this week?
Yeah, man, doing kind of the typical thing for, we saw a very similar tournament last week, Rocket Mortgage, which is kind of a little bit weaker field, low scoring. That's what we can expect this week at the John Deere. So, and it always makes it tough, Byron. I think you know that. These kind of devolve into putting contests to a certain extent, which makes it tough to kind of single guys out, especially on this TPC Deer Run course where length is mitigated, which really brings the whole field into play. I mean, we a handful of times a year, half dozen times a year, we have these golf courses where we can kind of firmly say that distance isn't a huge advantage, and this week's certainly one of those, which makes it interesting, but it also makes it kind of tough when you toss that type of golf course, this type of scoring environment, and a weaker field. So it's going to be fun. This tournament is always fun. I love that we have an event in the heartland of America. I'm a fan of the John Deere. I'm a fan of having tournaments kind of in different areas, like Iowa, like Illinois, Middle America. So really excited for the fans out there. I'm sure they'll love it. And we're going to try to win some bets, maybe make some good DFS lineups this week.
Let's go. And we're going to be doing that through looking at Joe's top 10 rankings, which he pinch hit for Joe Idoni this week, and kind of just taking a look at mine as we go through it. We're going to stay in this angle because this angle looks goddamn sexy, and I'm proud of what I've managed to finally put together after what's it been now 5.5 months worth of the show, and we finally got a very nice looking template. So we're going to move along in that direction. Looking forward. I'm going to be there all 4 days, finally get a chance to do that, and going to just be walking around. I think I'm going to walk around with Spieth quite a lot for maybe the first day or two, just really see what is going on with this guy, because he's, to me, one of the biggest anomalies going forward. And in fact, Joe, let's even go with this, because I don't have Jordan Spieth inside my top 10. I can't trust him to be there. I know how good he is. I know what his talent levels are like, but he's just not bringing it up for me right now. And It's just been a tough scene. So I'm going to take a quick peek at your rankings here and take a sneaky look. And we're going to have to dive into Jordan Spieth a little bit later for you. But before we do that, let's chat about your guy, Davis Thompson, number 10 in your rankings for the week. Hit us up.
Yeah, man, I really like Davis Thompson. He's a young guy that's kind of on the come up, and we've seen some kind of breakout wins take place in this event, Byron. It's where a lot of kind of younger tour players get their foot in the door. They're at this point, a lot of these guys are trying to get starts. John Deere is a great opportunity for them. You mentioned Jordan Spieth. I mean, we saw him get his first career win here. Bryson DeChambeau, Brian Harman, a lot of guys. And Davis Thompson has the type of talent to get a win this week. Formerly number 1 ranked amateur in the world, 2021 SEC Player of the Year. And we've seen him play really well in the month of June. Had kind of a breakthrough at the U.S. Open, a T9 there. T27 at Memorial, played really, really well last week in Detroit. close quickly. So he's got one John Deere start under his belt. Had a T31 here, I believe, last year in his debut. So just a good young player whose game's finally starting to translate kind of at the pro level. Look for big things from Davis Thompson, down the stretch of the year and even into the fall. I think we can expect big things from him, and this is a spot where he could play really well.
Absolutely. I think, when he was looking at that OG second place finish to John Rahm at the Amex, an easier type scoring situation, a place that's got reachable par fives that he can absolutely dominate. I know we don't have as many this week, but I think Davis Thompson is the guy that I really fancy, and I've got him around 6th this week, Joe. So okay. I'm not a Davis Thompson dude. I've always believed in betting him top 40. We always see him fall down the leaderboard over the course of the duration of the tournament. But I'm looking at his finishes since the Myrtle Beach, Joe. 2nd, 17th, miscut at the Canadian, T27 at the Memorial, 9th at the US Open, and 2nd at the Rocket Mortgage. The last 3 times he's teed it up, he's barely lost any department of his game. So that's exciting because it means that likely there won't be a chance that any sort of area lets him down too much going into the week. But you know how it goes. I bet Alex Noren, Stephen Yeager, and Keith Mitchell all for top 20s last week, and none of them even made the cut. Those are the 3 most popular dudes. They got great form entering the week, and so be it. That's how it goes. So I almost had my top 40 bets winning the tournament in Davis Thompson and Aaron Wright. So that's just how golf goes, but it's all good. So I think Davis has got some serious upside. Looking forward to what he can do. He's also got that Harris English part-time serial killer look, where it's does this guy do some stuff on the side? Because he looks like if you get into some stuff with him, he'll lock you up in his basement. He's got that look about him. So I'm kind of going to stay on his good side. Davis be playing some good golf going into it. All right, Joe. Number 9 for you is a man called Maverick McNealy. Also been playing some really good golf. And what's the putter going to do for us this week?
Yeah, man, I think we can say that about a lot of guys, Byron, because as we mentioned at the end of the day, you've got to have a hot putter to win this thing, man. I mean, you're talking about a week where to be in contention, you're going to have to make 25 birdies, maybe throw an eagle 30, in there. Yeah. So, I mean, the putter's got to be going. And Mav's been really consistent this year, man. He missed a big portion of last year with an injury, but he's all the way back. And when you really start digging in, what he's done this year has been unbelievably impressive. He's made 14 of 15 cuts, played really well at the Players, had a top 10 there, best ever finish in a major at the PGA Championship, played his way into the Open with the T7 in Canada. So we've seen some kind of under the radar, maybe stuff that's not going to jump off the page. But he's been excellent with his consistency, and we've seen him play really well in this event, a T8 and a T18 in his 2 career John Deere starts. So like what Mav can do. He can get the ball in the hole. He's 5th in this field, and birdies are better gained. So I kind of like how Mav's shaping up this week. Yeah,
I do too. I've also got him ranked 9th, Joe. And I think the biggest reservation I've usually had with Mav is his ability to really get up the leaderboard. We really haven't seen him knock a few top 5s out routinely, which is what the same reservation I had with Davis. So I think with Mav, we can kind of see what he can get up to in that area. But it's the weaker the field gets, the easier it is to do that. And I think after a bit of a letdown last week, I think he was kind of feeling like he was under pressure to perform well, because I think a lot of the bets were on him. I think a lot of, the DFS world was leaning into him. It's a bit of a flop lag situation going on here, because it's not as much expectation under his pillow, so to speak, when we're going into this week. Would you say that he's feeling a little less pressured after?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think it's, it's something, it's a bigger conversation we can have, but I think it definitely applies this week is, we know you have to go so low to win this type of golf tournament. Same thing last week, that these guys know they got to score, so they can kind of just go out there, pin their ears back, try to go low. It's almost like not like a U.S. Open environment or something where they're just trying to hang on kind of outlast the field. They know they have to go out there and score. And I think in a lot of ways that takes a lot of pressure off. Probably why we've seen some young guys do well here. Saw several first-time winners in this tournament. And Mav has kind of struggled with that. You mentioned, I mean, a lot of Sundays, I don't have his final round scoring average in front of me, but I'm sure if you look over the last 3 or 4 years, his final round scoring average isn't great. We've seen him after 36 holes, 54 holes, in really good positions and not being able to capitalize on those. But, you have to learn to win sometimes. And Mav's been around long enough now. He's kind of gaining some experience. He's been in the mix a little bit. So it's a real opportunity for him this week.
I'm looking at last week's stuff. Round 3 scoring, 116th in the rocket field. Round 1 scoring, 83rd. Rounds 2 and 4, top 30, both of them, 22nd, 27th. So he gets himself like out of the mix quickly, then bounces back in. If he gets himself too close to the mix, kind of bounces out Saturday and then kind of runs up the leaderboard on Sunday, does it the opposite way sometimes. It's a weird thing, Joe. And I think, we noticed that with Akshay last week with the reason I went with him is because Cam Davis hasn't done diddly squat. I've seen Akshay close out now 2 tournaments in the last little while. Whenever he's in the mix, he either ejects early or hangs around and wins the tournament. And that 3-putt was just so out of left field. I couldn't believe it now. I've watched 2 guys with broomsticks over 4-foot putts absolutely just bury my hopes and dreams on the final green, to kind of extend a playoff with Benny on and Akshay. So if I ever see another 4-footer to extend a playoff in an outright of mine, I might lose my mind. But that's neither here nor there. I see old Sia in the house asking if this is, we've got to the Seamus Power and Ben Cole's portion of the show, Sia. Not just yet, but maybe, maybe we'll have one of those in the rankings, maybe not, but we'll definitely discuss them as we go along. We've got a really fun guy by the name of Barry McCock in the chat as well. So I won't fall for that one because we've got a fun little nickname there, but that's for the chat and not for our screen. So Gent's always doing his thing in the chat here too. We really appreciate it. We don't want you to leave, Barry. I'm just not going to show your name on the PG screen over here. So Joe, let's dive into your next guy. We have got a situation where we've got JT Poston ranked number 8 for you.
Yeah, man. Poston's one of those guys. Always like him in kind of these events where you have to have a hot putter to win. And we saw him do just that a couple years ago. He went wire to wire to win this event 2 years ago, followed up with a top 10 here last year. So he's obviously comfortable with this layout. Guy can get nuclear hot with the flat stick, and he's kind of the inversion of what we're normally doing in DFS. Byron, normally we're looking for these excellent ball strikers and just kind of hoping for a hot putting week. With a guy like Poston and even a couple more guys we're talking about, we feel like he's capable of being really hot with the putter, but we're looking for a spike in the ball striking. Saw some good signs, gained strokes on approach in 2 of his last 4 starts, which for Poston is encouraging. That could be a sign of things to come. And he was really hot at the start of the year, closed 2023 on fire and playing really well at the outset of 2024. Kind of disappeared a little bit during the Florida swing, but we're starting to see him emerge again, and this is a good spot for him to break out.
Yeah, I've got nothing more to add to that. I think he loves the summer swing. I think we've noticed him doing his best golf kind of towards the end of the seasons, and we've seen some really good golf from old JT Poston coming in. I've got him ranked number 5. I love that, Joe. I think also another guy, when you find him in the mix on courses that he's got in the mood to, he can win these bad boys. And he's a past winner here too, right? So lots to like from JT Poston there. My number 8 guy is Jason Day. I know he's pretty high ranked for us, and I'm going to kind of jump to you as well, Joe, with him being your number 6 guy too. And I think Jason Day is an interesting character this week because amidst these names, Aaron Rai, Denny McCarthy, JT Poston, Maverick McNealy, Davis Thompson, then we've got Jason Day in the mix. And for those of us that haven't been in a coma for the last 5-6 years, that makes a lot of sense based off what he's been up to. But also at the same time, is this guy ever going to really reclaim where he's been? This isn't a Spencer question. That's a Joe Nicely question.
Yeah, I mean, I think kind of Jason's ceiling now is kind of just being a really good player. Maybe a top 10, borderline top 10 guy. I don't think he's ever going back to number one in the world. And this is kind of a weird scheduling decision for him, Byron. I'm sure he's kind of jockeying for position. I mean, I was looking at the remainder of the schedule earlier today, man, and there's not much season left. Which he's in fine shape for the FedEx Cup playoffs, but he's playing in the Olympics, so maybe he's trying to kind of feel something out. He's got the Open coming up. He's got a very good Open championship record, so maybe he's just trying to keep something going, or feels like he's close to finding something. But yeah, you can argue where you want to put Jason Day in your top 10, or even if he's in your top 10. But for me, it's just his pedigree puts him kind of a cut above most of the guys in this field, and that's why he comes in at number 6 for me.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of name value, a lot of pedigree involved. And you mentioned scheduling there, Joe. Kind of name the show Tractors, Actors, and Benefactors, because the John Deere and Patrick Cantley is injured, but there's a speedy recovery on the horizon. They feel very good about his injury fixing itself before the very next tournament, like almost certain. That's a load of BS, in my opinion. Obviously, we all know that Cantley was sitting, I think, 21st in the FedEx Cup prior to his 2 finishes at Travelers and the US Open. And the injury is to his lack of points. It's just been spilling points all over his FedEx Cup situation, and now he's not. No need to kind of show up to the freaking John Deere Classic, which I've taken personally, and Michael Jordan meme there. But what's your take on Cantley there, Joe, since he's pulled out?
Yeah, I had him at number 1 in my rankings. I mean, it's pretty much a no-brainer. It was always an odd spot for him, a tournament he's never played. And as you mentioned, I think it was probably when he committed to this, he was probably staring down the barrel of not a great season at the moment. Was really sluggish start to 2024, and we've seen him turn things on. So I'm sure that he just felt like he no longer needed this tournament on the schedule, no longer need the FedEx Cup points, and he'll probably head over to Europe, just get ready for the Scottish and the Open Championship. Yep.
And, this is a live show, so we get some nice live chat involved here. Wider Woods saying that Brooks and Bryson would dominate the PGA. The rest of the field should be thanking them for joining LIV every time they cash a check. So, Wider Woods, I'm a big fan of both those guys, but, if you call one LIV win this season dominating the PGA, then all the power to you. Scotty's got 5 PGA Tour wins this week, excluding a major. So, Joe, we love Wider Woods, but
yeah, man. Brooks has never dominated on the PGA Tour. Now, I listen to the argument he can not be dominant in majors, but he's never going to be dominant on a regular PGA Tour event. Neither of those guys would be in this field anyway. Wood. So we're not worrying about it. But yeah, man, I love what Bryson's doing. Had a chance to go down to LIV Nashville a couple of weeks ago, and check that out and sit in on Bryson's press conference. The dude's just electric. So he's really great for the game of golf. So you're not going to hear me say anything bad about those guys or LIV or anything like that. But I don't think we have to worry about Brooks dominating at the John Deere Classic.
No, I think White is just coming in with a hot take. We appreciate it.
He's coming in throwing 100, man.
Yeah.
Just do your
Love
thing. Wild thing, Ricky Vaughn. Doesn't matter where it's going, but we're throwing it fast.
Let's go. I love it. This is what we're here for. So we got Patrick is an investment banker. He understands the situation on the side of his points there. So that makes tons of sense. And then we also had Jens asking how many birdies Tom Kim's going to make this week. I would say 0, but I'm not entirely sure if that was the correct person that he threw in the mix there. But let's move on down. We've got Denny McCarthy sitting number 7 for you, Joe. Played nicely in the John Deere in the fast. Weaker fields, been close a few times, Memorial. What's got you ranking him 7?
Yeah, Denny's another one of those guys, kind of like we talked about with JT Poston, except maybe, even an even better putter. First on the PGA Tour this year in total putting, and he's kind of been dialed into that spot for the last several years. One of, if not the best putters on the PGA Tour. And we know that's what's needed this week. You got to go out there and just make a ton of birdies. These fairways are extremely easy to hit. Greens are extremely easy to hit. So we're looking for guys that have the ability to get the ball in the hole, and Denny certainly can. He's been kind of knocking on the door. A brutal loss to Akshay earlier this year in Texas. So he's close, man. He's going to eventually get one. As you mentioned, he's played really well in this event. I think he's gone like T6, T6 over the last 2 years in this event. So could see some good things for Denny this week.
Yeah, he just needs to find that pep in his step, the Wyndham Clark extra gear when he's in contention. It just seems like he slightly goes back into his shallow touch. And I think I had him with the year JT Poston won, I think. And I went out there to watch him, and then I only caught him playing hole 10, and by hole 11, it was over pretty much. I think he parred the 10th par 5 there, and you could just see, like, he was just dragging. There wasn't like chin up, chest out, going for this win. He was just like, God damn it, I'm melting down again. And I hope at some point, that he can break through and kind of get to that department of his game, because he's thrilling to watch. It's always fun to see these guys that are these good putters contend, because that's what Cam Smith was so exciting about. He was one of my favorite golfers, because from anywhere the ball could always be in the hole. That's a lot of fun to kind of. Yeah.
He's just too good a player not to eventually get a win, and this spot makes a ton of sense for him with his game. I just put on a fantastic show at Valero earlier this year, where he's battling with Akshay. I mean, just absolutely lights out. And the winner will need some sort of performance like that. I mean, you're talking about you're going to have to put a couple of low 60s rounds together this week to win this thing. And Denny's one of those guys, in this field that you can circle that has the ability to do that. So looking forward to what Denny can do this week.
Oh, yeah. I've got him ranked 3rd, and I think it's mainly got to do with that putter, baby. When that putter starts rolling, we're in business. Spoken about Jason Day, and we're diving into the top 5 here, Joe, with Aaron Rai for you. Number 5 golfer. Guy's been playing fantastic golf the last little while. Right in the mix at the Rocket. Kind of just couldn't bring it home, just like the same thing as I was just mentioning about Denny, kind of on Sunday, which I was very happy about as an Akshay backer, but obviously RIP to that one as well.
Yeah, I've been a Rye backer pretty much for the entire season. It feels like he was in my core 4 last week. An article I do over at DraftKings for the Rocket Mortgage, and he played really well. Just kind of ran out of steam on Sunday. It happens, but you can almost put his tee to green numbers up against almost anybody on the PGA Tour for the last couple months, and so I fully expected him to hit the ball well. In Detroit, look for him to hit the ball well again this week. Unfortunately, in those type of events, that's not always going to be enough. So though I do have him 5 because I feel like he's kind of earned that type of respect with his ball striking, I do have concerns about, is he going to be able to make enough putts? And that's kind of where we saw him fall off. Just kind of ran out of juice last week in Detroit, but love his tee to green ability. And I was kind of concerned when I was doing the article. I wrote it, while he was right in the mix. I thought if he wins, he's probably going to WD, but I got to toss him in here like top 5. So just really love what he's able to do from tee to green, and it's probably going to come down to the putter.
And you know what? He showed us some of that putter last week, and he's second in this field over the last 6 months, tee to green behind Keith Mitchell. So that's somewhat, Keith's been doing really good things on the ball striking front there anyway, despite his lack of upside. But, Aaron Rai, we've seen the putter pop now a little bit. He got a taste for that environment now on the PGA Tour. He really hasn't been in the hunt, really on this side of the pond. Just missed out at the Wentworth BMW Championship over across the pond last year. So, there's a lot of wealth of experience there, and I think he's looking right inside that top 5, looking really pretty there for you too, Joe. I've got him ranked number 4, pretty much the same situation, tons and tons of ball striking and tee to green prowess from him in that department. For your number 4th ranked guy, we got Spieth, Jordan Spieth. I said, not going to put him inside my top 10. I know he should be potentially, but I just can't trust the guy. And I've always said, when you ride the Spieth roller coaster, you want to ride it with one of your best buddies or alone, because the throw-up's going to be coming. It's going to be yours or Spieth's. which one it is. You got to be really close with that person if you're going to be riding that roller coaster. Don't do it with lots of other people. So, Joe, is Jordan going to be popular this week, or is he even going to be part of your roller coaster itinerary?
Man, I've been on this roller coaster for years. So
you're in the back.
Yeah, man, it's just like the 2024 John Deere Classic isn't going to like change my Jordan Spieth vibe, because I'm there. I've been in. We've had tough times, Byron. There have been tough times, but there's been some really fun stuff, and the guy can just go out there and do it like not a lot of people can. He can be playing terrible, and you think this dude's going to be off the PGA Tour in 6 months, and he goes out there and shoots a 62 that could have been a 59. So you just kind of never know what you're going to get with him, and because of that, I just had to, out of respect, put him in my power rankings this week. Won this event 2 times, and we talked about these guys are kind of jockeying for position. I think Jordan's outside the top 50 in the FedEx Cup standings right now. At least best of my memory, he was. So he needs some points this week. An important stretch coming up for him. We know his Open Championship record. We know how well he's performed over there. So whether it be he's trying to get tuned up or he's trying to find something, and he feels like this is maybe a good place to do it. And we've seen this from him, Byron. We've seen him play well, at Augusta National, at Harbortown, at Pebble, even when his form's bad. So I fully think he's capable, even though he's been pretty much a non-factor all year long. I think he's capable of going out there and putting himself in the mix, just because that's what Jordan Spieth does, man. Yeah.
Do you think it's his wrist injury, Joe?
Yeah, I think it's probably played a part in it. You know how golfers are, man. When there's an injury, you start trying to kind of compensate for that injury, and then maybe you pick up some bad habits. And then when you throw in the Spieth factor of him just being a psycho, I'm sure. But, at the end of the day, it's Michael Greller's fault.
It's always his fault, man.
It's always Greller's fault, no matter what.
Always Greller's fault. Also, the most underpaid person on this planet. I'm not sure there's a dollar more that you could contribute to that person that would make him overpaid, because I really hope Jordan pays Greller well. I'm sure that he does, but yeah, he should be the highest paid caddy on tour. He should be the highest paid golfer.
The highest paid caddy used to be Bryson's caddy. I don't know who it is now, but it should be Greller.
That'll be an interesting little research session to get into. I think that'll be quite something for us there. So you've got Spieth at number 4. Who's my guy? I've got Ride number 4 over there. So makes a lot of sense. I think he's looking in the right direction. For you, number 3, Joe, Sungjae Baby Im. Woo!
Yeah, Sungjae. I mean, he's another one of those guys. I mean, we talked about Patrick Cantlay, and he's a WD this week, but Sungjae is another kind of one of those star level top talents, a big time player that's struggled for a big portion of 2024, but has found it a little bit lately. So really like kind of where he's trending. His game hasn't been where we wanted to see it this year, but got going a little bit in May and here recently, 3 top 10s in his last 5 starts. His John Deere record isn't great. And it's one of those golf courses that, as we mentioned, it kind of brings everybody together. So some advantages that Sungjae might have can be wiped away if the putter's not working. But obviously he's a cut above. He's definitely the top 1% of this field, however you want to cut it. So I think he's coming back around, and he's a top tier talent. So got to put him up towards the top of the rankings. Where'd you have him, Byron? I've
also got him pretty high up. I think I've got him second. So okay, he's right up there, in my spots. I think he's really trending, Joe. The ball striking, I wish it was a bit more consistent leading into all of this stuff, but he seems to just be getting the ball in the hole one way or another. And that's what you need here. You got to be able to score, and I think he can. He's been grinding out pretty impressive results the last little while. And whatever the heck he's got over, it seems like he's got over it, because to a large degree. It was last year's Korean event right before the Masters that pretty much put him over the edge. Like, he got sick, and then just started playing really bad golf for a long time until like more recently, where it's kind of rectified itself in a weaker field. Sungjae wins like once every 4 on the earth, so I think maybe it's time to
his irons are really starting to come around, man. He was struggling mightily with his irons earlier in the year, and that's why we weren't seeing any results. I mean, frankly, he was just bad on approach, but we've seen him kind of start to level up a little bit, and he had his best statistically, had his best outing of the year at Travelers. He gained just over 5 strokes on approach, which is his best mark of the year. So he's definitely coming in with some positive momentum this week, and a ton of talent, towards the top of the field, just from pedigree. So a lot to like about Sungjae.
A lot to like. I mean, that when someone shows up with his best approach week, gaining 5.5, Joe, that is, you got to pay attention to that guy a touch, because that's going to be a guy you want to kind of hitch your wagon to at some point. Yeah. So whether or not he can really get it done to win this tournament, I don't know, but I think he's a wonderful DFS option. The person I do believe, Joe, that you've got ranked second, I've got obviously adjusted since Cantley. I think Jens was asking us in the chat where we would have had Cantley, number 1 for both of us. He's just a tier above everybody despite his poor play. He's just too good of a golfer. So he would have been unanimous number 1 across the board. But you've got Sepp and I've got Sepp basically as our top ranked guy now that Cantley's out. I'll say a little bit about Sepp, just the fact that he won this thing last year, almost broke the course record on Sunday, chasing him down. And like you mentioned, you got to rattle up a few 60s in a row at this golf course. If one of them can be a near 59, that's not going to be bad either. This guy loves this golf course. There's a touch of course history to this venue, with the likes of Straka and Johnson, guys that have typically played well at this venue before. So I'm kind of interested in to see what he gets back up to again this year. He was one of my few outrights I hit last year. I was very, very excited about that. And he did it in such epic fashion. He did not have to hit his ball in the water on the 18th hole and still kind of managed to survive that round. So thank God for the boys behind him, not really chasing him down that well. So hit me up with why you got Sepp as your top ranked guy this week, Joe.
Yeah, man. It's when I was doing the rankings.
Pop the mute button on there, Guzzy.
I should have you now. Got me?
No. Still, maybe it's my side of things. All good.
What about now?
We have lost Joe's audio for the next time. Testing. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you fine. Not sure what's up over here.
Maybe it's a bad omen for the setbackers here, folks. We've got a whiteout on the audio streams. I can see Joe. I can see he's excited, but Mike, I'm gonna unplug a few things, replug him in. You can hear Joe. Joe, go ahead and speak some more quickly, and if you tell the people what to drop in the chat, because that way I'll know exactly what's going on.
What about now? Got me now?
I still can't hear you, which is a problem, but I don't know if it's got to do from my side of things.
I should be good, man. I
can hear both of you. So somehow I've lost Joe's audio, but the chat can still hear Joe. Ah, fun times. Okay.
Well, if the chat can hear me, we're going with Sepp Straka this week. we put him up towards the top of the board, the big septic tank, defending champ here at John Deere, and just playing excellent golf. Ball striking has been beautiful. Gained strokes on approach, and I think his last 8 in a row, strokes tee to green in the same amount. So while it's kind of always feels kind of weird having Sepp Straka at the top of any list, really like how he shapes up this week, just with his recent form, his comfortability with this course, and his ability to go low. So that's why I like Sepp. He was number 2 for me before Cantley WD'd, so he's kind of my de facto number 1 this week. So really like Sepp a lot. So Byron, I'm throwing it back to you now.
All right. It looked like Joe. I can't believe this is the situation that we're in, but I'm trying to lip read and kind of just get from his facial expressions what he really fancies about Sepp this week. A lot, I'm assuming. And we got a thumbs up from Joe from that side of things. This is utterly wild. I think I've seen this happen on one other show before, it's likely just on my side of things that I can't hear. I'm glad at least everyone that needs to hear can hear. You and I can. I'll go re-listen to the show, Joe, and figure out what's going on.
It's fun. I can.
It just randomly happened. I wasn't clicking any buttons, but
I can literally say anything.
I'm a big fan of Sepp this week. I think he's going to be great. So he's going to ball strike the crap out of this thing and putt it in well. So, Joe, this is going to be fun. We're going to. You can hear me right still. So
yeah,
that's fine.
I got you.
So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to do some gourmet or cray, and you're going to waffle off, and then you're going to let me know when it's my turn to go. So hit me up with your favorite play, your gourmet option in the 10s above, and tell me who else is cray in that department.
Okay, I'm going with Sepp up there for the reasons just mentioned. I think that the ball striking is great. I look for him to play well.
Of fairways and
I don't know where that came from, but yeah, going with Sepp up there, and my cray is Jordan Spieth, because we know Spieth's just always some psycho things could happen. He could miss the cut or he could win this thing. So Spieth is my cray play of the week.
Okay, my turn. All right, so Joe, the chat needs to let me know who Joe chose as his gourmet or cray, but I'm going to go with Jordan Spieth. The cray factor of him being the highest priced guy in this field, we understand. Did Joe just say that he's the cray option? Okay, so I'm seeing him nodding over there, and then my gourmet is going to be Sepp. At 10-4, boom. Okay, sweet. So we're right on track. The fact that we kind of strumming these strings together is a good situation. In the 9s for us, I'm going to go ahead and say my cray play would be Maverick McNealy at $9,800. I think he hasn't had that top end situation where he's absolutely shown us he can finish and contend to win these tournaments lately. But he's a good, safe option in one capacity. But I just don't think he should be ranked ahead of Denny or Davis, or we'll leave it at that. I think there's two guys that definitely could be ranked above him in that department. So that's going to be my cray option. And then we'll see I'm going to keep going to Joe first from now on, so we can see how many I can knock out at the same time. I was trying to also listen to the stream somewhere else, but it's playing through my speakers. So I'll try and figure that out as we go. But this is also a fun little exercise, Joe. So go ahead, hit us with your gourmet and cray in the 9s.
Yeah, man, I think I'm going to go with Denny as my gourmet play. Just tough to see him playing, badly with his course history here, and he's such a great putter. So I really like Denny there in that 9K range. And my cray is Keith Mitchell. I know the numbers have been great. I know everybody's been on every week, but I'm just not chasing it anymore. So no Keith Mitchell for me.
All right. So chat, let me know what Joe's gourmet option was in the 9s. My gourmet for the 9K range, and I hate to say this, but I think I'm going to lean into Davis Thompson as my top play in this 9K range. I just think he's just trending so hard right now, and the guy's been finding himself in a serious situation. Are you saying Keith Mitchell was the cray play there, Joe, or did you go with him as your gourmet? Cray. This is a wonderful show to be doing for those that are listening audio, because we are doing thumbs up, thumbs down between me and Joe. But you know what? This is fun. We're going to keep on rocking and rolling. In the 8s, Joe, Mr. Nicely. We've got a few guys here. Seamus Power, Mark Hubbard, Luke Clanton, Kevin Yu. And at the top of the board, the amateur that won his very first start on the PGA Tour was Nick Dunlap. Which of these are your cray and gourmet plays in the 8s, Mr. Nicely?
Oh man, this is when things start kind of getting ugly. In this event, we really start noticing the lack of strength in the field. So for my cray, I'm gonna go Adam Svensson. Even though the course history is good, just don't know that he can get there this week. And actually, there's a couple guys I'm interested in. I'm interested in Nick Dunlap. I think he's just a super talented player. We saw him play well last week. Obviously, won earlier this year as an amateur. Byron mentioned Luke Clanton, a talented amateur. But my gourmet, I'm going to kind of go old school and say Seamus Power. I think, maybe he's finding something. We've seen him pop a couple times over the past 6-8 weeks. The course history here is rock solid. So my gourmet is Seamus at 8,300.
Good. I'm seeing some fun stuff in the chat here. So Joe went with Cray for Adam Svensson. Yes. Yep. And Seamus Power is your gourmet option.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Seamus is, I'm going to go with Seamus too. I'll give him a double. Let's get a double serving of gourmet power Seamus over here, baby. Some Irish gulag. I think I'm a fan of him. Obviously on these kind of venues, these short positional venues, that's where Seamus thrives. In the weaker fields as well. Now that Cantley's out of here, we are going to the moon. Can't drive a John Deere without power. Hey, I love that. You can drive it with noise canceling headphones on, but that's for sure. So we've got that going.
Can't have a live stream without volume either, but we're doing it, baby. So we're making things happen this week.
I'm assuming Joe's got some really funny things to say about Seamus, but I didn't want to speak over him because I saw those lips waggling to the delight of a Seamus Power gourmet option, baby. So I'm all for that. I think I've even bet him outright this week. So we're going to be going all the way to Seamus in the sevens, Joe. We have got only a 6K range after this. The DraftKings remembered to change the settings and not leave a 5K range open like they did last week. So in the sevens, Mr. Nicely, big range. This will be a tough one, but I'm assuming you got some guys that you're in the mood for. Gourmet and Cray in the sevens.
Yeah, it is a tough one. It's a big range, Byron, as you mentioned. A lot of guys sandwiched in here, so it's really tough to kind of weed through these watered down options. I think maybe my favorite. I just like this kid as a player. Liked him a lot last week. The price was much better, but I really like Neil Shipley. I think he's just capable of making a ton of birdies. So just for fun, I'm going to say my gourmet is Neil Shipley because I think he's a really talented player that's on the upswing. We've seen those type of guys do well here. Not crazy about the lack of course experience, but for fun, we're going to say Neil Shipley. My Cray in this range, man, I don't know if I can get behind Luke List. I hadn't been there in a while. We know you got to make a ton of putts this week. The ball striking is always excellent, but I kind of always fall for the Luke List ball striking analytics. So I'm going to hold off this week and say Cray to Luke List.
Yeah. So I'm loving where we're going here. I'm not going to order all the gourmet same dishes here because I would definitely order another dish of Neil Shipley as well. I'll kind of move my way around there and say, gourmet, in my opinion, also can be for an item that should be a normal menu item that's just got a bit more flair. Adam Schenk seems slightly overpriced in my opinion, but I'm still willing to go to him because of what he's done at this golf course. And I think, we're talking about gourmet. I think this guy knows how to serve a deer flank to like optimal, serving conditions there. So I'm a big believer in him. I think this Michael Thorbjornson situation as a Cray situation is also kind of, we got really high on him at the Travelers, and I think he landed up missing the freaking cut at the Rocket at a golf course we thought was going to be ideal for him. So this is kind of flitting and flatting between being gourmet and Cray for me, but I do think I want to kind of keep on scooting down the board here. And, are we going to say Michael Kim at $7,400? I think he has shown a bit of form over the last little while. I know the guys were right in the mix there. I think he's going to be quite popular after his early, good, fast start last week. I'm not necessarily finding too many options to kind of say Cray at this department because they're 7K options, but I'll go with Michael Kim. I think people are going to be looking for him to succeed again here like he did in 2018, which was also a massive flash in the Cray pan there. So Michael Kim is going to be my Cray option here. I guess there's a million other guys we could scroll to at the bottom of the sevens, but picking an option there is not the worst. So Joe, we're in our final range over here, and hit me up with your 6Ks.
Yeah, it's as we get into the 6K range of the John Deere Classic, things could go either way. Let's just put it that way. So I think there's a couple ways you can go down here. There's nobody I'm all in on at the moment. That might change as the week progresses, but as of now, it's just sprinkles of guys for me down here. Alex Smalley's always a favorite of mine. He's had a rough year, but has shown some signs lately. But I'll say my gourmet is kind of a little surprise at the end of the meal, a little dessert. Troy Merritt, he's a guy I really like on short golf courses. Saw him play well last week. Had a T17 here last year in this event. Has had a couple decent finishes. So I'll say Troy Merritt's my gourmet, just because it's hard to find gourmet dishes in this range in this field this week. And my cray, Kevin Streelman, I mean, is the dude. What do we got going on here? I know that he's getting up there in age, but didn't even realize he was still playing on the tour this year. So Kevin Streelman is my cray in the 6K range.
Ooh, I'm seeing some Kevin Streelman going on here. Yeah, the Streelman situation, man. He's also one of these guys. It's just he's been on tour for so long. We've come to know what he does so well, but that edge has just kind of fallen off a little bit. He just hasn't brought it to the world that we're looking for right now. I'm seeing Jens laughing in the chat. I'm sure Joe's spitting absolute. This is one of the most terrible situations. Like, I feel I've never felt more alone on a show that I've had another guest on. Everyone in the world can hear him except for me somehow, which I'm actually very happy is still the case. So I'm going to go ahead here and say Matt Kuchar. Let's just go with Matt Kuchar here, because despite another old Kevin Streelman type situation, he used to have it last year. I think I was kind of on him at all these Matt Kuchar venues, and even at those places this year, he really hasn't been thriving. So it's the 6Ks. It's hard to have a cray price tag, but he is priced at $6,900, which is the most expensive option in this range. I'm going to go with him as a cray option. Cannot argue with a Troy Merritt as a gourmet situation over there, baby. He's just something to behold on. Like, it was so nice to see Troy Merritt doing his thing. Now that he's over the yips again. We kind of broke that over here at RotoBaller PGA, where I asked him a really random question, and he told the whole world, I've actually been dealing with the yips. That's why my putting's been that bad. So I'm so happy. I've got a soft spot for him in my heart, and I think he's going to be one of my favorites. Another option that I will be looking at is Kelly Craft at $6,600. That's some gourmet stuff right there, baby. That's gourmet Kraft mac and cheese right there for me. So I'm a big fan of Kelly. He pops. He doesn't play too much golf. He's outside the 150 of the FedEx. So when he does show up, he tends to ball out. Went in on him last week, kind of let us down there a little bit. Maybe the course required a bit too much driver intensity. I feel like you can kind of ramp the driver down from about a 7 last week to about 4.5, 5 this week, and maybe expect the rest of the game to play a bit more of a bigger role. And Kelly Craft can putt, and he can hit those irons, baby. And the putter let him down last week a little bit. So we'll be looking to kind of bounce back in that department. So that's it for me on the 6Ks. I had a whole bunch of other questions for Joe that I'm not going to necessarily ask him today. We'll table those for another time. I'm not in the mood to hear these wonderful answers in delay. But Joe, before we get out of here, tell everybody what's going on at RotoBaller. Tell them why we're amazing. Tell them why they should sign up and use code SUMMER for 30% off and all of that.
It's our best deal of the year. So if you're not going to sign up at the start of the year and grab us for the whole season and get amazing content from Byron and Spencer Aguiar and Joe Idoni and myself, we wish you would have hopped on in January. Had a lot of winners, a lot of folks winning money over there in the PGA Premium Slack. But if you missed the boat, you can still hop on, use promo code SUMMER. You save right at 30% off. So we hope you'll take advantage of that and sign up before the year's last major. And we got a big stretch of tournaments coming up. So head over to RotoBaller.com, use promo code SUMMER.
Let's go. Yep. We've got that premium Discord going on. We've got a team of absolute warriors out there. One of them taking a slight little break, which is very well deserved this week. We're hoping Spence is having a great time, not doing everything. I know he's still providing all the top stuff that he does give you guys every week. I'll be doing that for Ragbri in a few weeks' time as well, shortly after the Open. So it's going to be a fun little summer of us kind of just recharging the batteries. But what you guys need to do is recharge your batteries with the RotoBaller PGA. So make sure you jump over there with us and get in the mix. I'm sure Joe said some really awesome things about us. Can't wait to go listen to that part of the show. But Joe, this was fun, I guess, doing this, not being able to hear a single thing you said and still continuing the show. But I'm glad the chat could. And we're going to try and figure out exactly what the hell happened here. But life is good over here. We are doing our good things. And from the people with elderly backs to those that are backing the wrong people this week, we are here for everybody. And we're just having a good time. And we can't wait to catch you guys with full audio next week, Monday, same